Thank you for registering for our Developing a Corporate Credit Rationale course. Who are the users of credit analysis? Issuers, underwriters, ratings agencies, and the like all need to understand how companies operate, and credit analysis is a great way to do it. In addition, there are also investors, traders, bankers, and regulators that use credit analysis to see how a company is operating. It is especially important to do such an analysis to help ensure a return on your capital and to reduce the risk of default. Let's take a look at credit analysis using a top-down approach. First, we will look at the macro environment to see how the economy is doing and what consumer demand is like. Next, we'll narrow it down to the industry, followed by a look at the company. A good place to start looking at the macro environment is by performing a political, economic, social, and technological analysis, also known as a PEST analysis. Is the political environment friendly, or is it a regime where trade cannot get done? We must also look at the economic environment. In countries other than the US and some other large countries, exchange rates can be quite significant. Look at the demographic or social factors. Is it a growing company? Is the population young, or is it an aging population? Technology is also key, since it is embedded in our daily lives. How technologically advanced is this particular country? Credit cycles come and go. In 2007, banks took part in reckless lending. This was followed by universal gloom and recession, during which banks could not lend. In 1992, 2003, and 2009, companies were not able to borrow, hire more people, or expand production. After the banks came out of the recession and repaired their balance sheets, they were open for all. Because banks were in a competitive position, companies were allowed to shop for bargains. Pricing started to reduce, and covenants started to disappear. Today, there are many covenant-light loans. Where do you think we are in the cycle? Do we still have low credit standards, or are companies not borrowing again? Another good place to look when gauging the current state of the economy is Standard & Poor's Rating Services research. Here you can see an example, which gives insight as to where S&P Ratings thinks the economy is heading. This is extremely important when projecting a company's earnings. Is the company going to be earning in excess of what the economy is growing? If so, how is this happening? Moving from a look at the macro environment down to the industry, there is a helpful tool we can use called the Porter model. The Porter model was conceived by Michael Porter from Harvard University. It shows who is in the industry, who can come into the industry, and what kind of regulations are preventing new competition from coming into the industry. Let's take cell phone companies for example. Who has the power? The suppliers or the buyers? Who is operating in the cell phone industry to date, and who was operating there 10 years ago? 10 years ago, we had a major cell phone company called BlackBerry. Where does BlackBerry stand today with Androids, iPhones, and tablets? Moving from industry analysis to company analysis, one of the most important analytical aspects to look at is management. Management can be very difficult to analyze, but it is crucial in delivering corporate strategy. You must look at the management's background, education, experience, and even compensation. Is their compensation tied to the performance of the company's stock? Is there a strong risk management culture? Investors do not like surprises. An investor doesn't want to see a restatement or earnings change on the front cover of the Wall Street Journal. Management turnover, such as board members or management leaving the company, is also a big red flag. Credit analysis is the process of evaluating an applicant's request in order to determine whether or not they will pay you back. To achieve the goal of credit analysis and make the determination about a buyer's ability to repay, you engage in a risk evaluation framework that includes business and industry risk, measuring financial performance, and measuring a company's performance. We must also identify early warning signs and determine what events can prohibit the company from repaying the debt in the future. We must take working capital analysis into consideration. What does the company business cycle consist of? A cash flow analysis must be performed to determine if the company has sufficient cash flows to service its debt and to project whether or not the future cash flows can take on additional debt. Ask yourself questions such as, what is the structure of the debt? Are there covenants? How long is the debt out for? What is the company's debt service capacity? Aside from performing a credit analysis to determine a company's ability to repay its debt obligation, you also want to do an analysis to earn a return that's appropriate for the risk that's being taken. A good area to look at for an external opinion of your company are the ratings agencies. Currently, there are 10 agencies that are granted the nationally recognized statistical ratings organization status. The two main rating agencies are Moody's and Standard & Poor's. They carry the market share with approximately 80% of the market. Ratings agencies can cover up to 5 classes of credit ratings. Credit ratings are usually distinguished between investment grade and non-investment grade, otherwise called junk or high yield. The investor universe is much larger for investment grade than it is for non-investment grade. To begin looking analytically at your company, you can look at its strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats, otherwise considered a SWOT analysis. The strengths and weaknesses of the company can refer to its people and its products, which are under management's control. Opportunities and threats are usually external forces which management may not have control over. In this upcoming course, you will be performing an extensive SWOT analysis on T-Mobile. Thank you for taking the time to enhance your knowledge of credit analysis and taking the first steps in preparing yourself for developing a corporate credit rationale. We look forward to seeing you.